I'm beginning to feel like things are close today. This is the right wing, and I got some Gorilla Tape in, as you can see today. Some recommended by JD. Maybe not for the exact purpose I'm using it, maybe more for covering the leading edge of the wing, but I decided to take an easy way today. So I put my servo and elevator wires through this channel, and I just put Gorilla Tape on top of them to hold them down. It's protected by that edge of that raised up foam where I made that little mistake. I did bring them both out through the bottom now. When I found out that was going, they have to be butted together to go in the top of the fuselage. So there's elevator and aileron. Still got the video transmitter out here. Got enough there where I can cut it off short and put my connector on. I put the elevator servo lead through the boom and got it where I wanted it before I kind of fixed it down a little bit here with the tape. So that will be, if it needs to be changed a little bit, it's not such a big deal to pull that tape up. I do still have to Loctite the nuts on these screws, but put the connector on this, which will be that little 4 conductor connector. The wing will be pretty much finished. Don't know what else to say about that one. Here is the left wing. It got essentially the same treatment. The one servo lead that is in this one was put in the channel and then Gorilla taped down. Sometimes the easiest and fastest solution is workable. Sometimes it isn't. I'll find that out later. And again, the 6 conductor shielded twisted pair, I'll have to cut this off and put one of those 6 conductor connectors on it. That comes from my old Navy days and airplanes. We safety wired everything. So my mind says everything needs Loctited, safety wired, whatever. Can't use safety wire on an RC airplane, or I would be, I assure you. I actually covered the RC receiver with tape. Can't really tell you why I did that. I can easily punch through to get to the bind button. This is actually coax, so I didn't worry about separating it or anything. I don't think that will be a problem. It may be. A lot of this is found to be a problem after the fact. I mounted one of the antennas vertically polarized, and I mounted the other one. That bottom one would get a bit more than the top one, but it's the way I'm putting them on the bench. One of them's horizontally polarized, one of them's vertically polarized. I think that all should work fine, and I just taped them down. I was going to put a slit in the foam with an X-Acto knife and put these flush, but I didn't. So again, with this one, do the Loctite on the nuts, put my connector on this, and the left wing will also be finished. So I stuck the 2 wings over here next to the sorter station with the 2 connectors I'm going to use to do the video transmitter and RC receiver. Cut them to length here and stuff. Also have a 765 wing here with some pin headers to put on the flight controller here. So I'll be doing that a little later. When the connectors on the wings are completed, that will virtually complete the physical build of the RC airplane portion of this. Not really, because the motor isn't on yet. But I'm going to consider the motor electronics too. If I put it on, even without the prop, it's just going to be in the way while I do all this other stuff. And I just don't see any use in having it in the way. So I did start working on the wiring of the electronics. This is the GPS. I did end up cutting those wires, and I will put a regular connector on to attach them to UR2 down here, I believe it is. Got the I2C bus coming out of the front to go down to right in here. I'll mount the airspeed sensor module, which is just hot glued on. There's no big deal with that. That might make the tubing for it kind of in the way. It may go down here. Not quite sure of that yet. And then the P-dot tube coming out the front here. And I think all that'll be good. So I've got my wires cut for that. I'm only going to be using 4 out of the 6 wires here. Voltage, ground, and the I2C clock and data lines. So I've also got my connector for the airspeed sensor cut. It's just a 4 conductor connector, whereas that's a 6. But again, I'm not going to use all 6 wires out of it. Got me a little hole cut to get that through, and there was a hole cut in the back for the GPS compass module to go through. So I think I can accurately say it's almost down to the electronics at this point. I bet I have to get the connectors on the end of the wings, and then I will truly feel more like it's finished with the RC airplane build, and we're at the point of doing the electronics. I needed to kind of pre-place the electronics so I knew where my wires needed to be cut, etc., for the wings and such. And again, I guess it's not complete until the motor's on, but I'm going to save that kind of last. That's a real quick installation with 4 little bolts. So let's get to doing some soldering and see what occurs. I've got everything laid out. This is the wing with the RC receiver in it. This is a 6-pin connector that's going to go on the cable in the wing. I found those connectors had small enough wire in them. Whoops, that's not stripped. Whoa. Well, trust me, they have small enough diameter wire in them where they are going to go through these holes. It's the 4-position one that doesn't have wire small enough to be soldered straight to the board. So that'll be the RC receiver. 6 wires soldered straight to the board there. That connector coming up, attaching to this little connector, which will be attached to, whoops, got my stuff laid out wrong here. This comes down here. This comes down here. This goes up here, because this is where the actual 6 conductor and that runs out to the receiver is. So again, this will be attached to 6 wires right there. It will connect to this connector, which will be attached to the 6 wires in this, much shorter. I've started cutting the length on these I want to play with the first time. I haven't cut those to length yet. And that'll go out to the receiver. So that part sits there. That's that. Okay, next is the video on the bottom wing, technically. And I'll put pins on the board and put this across them the way I do on all video receivers. I'm trying to standardize some wiring. This connector will be soldered together right here. Then this end right here will come over to the 4-conductor shielded twisted pair and be soldered in. Check. Then the 4-pin connector for the airspeed sensor will be soldered into the 4 wires of the I2C bus out of the front of the M9N5883 GPS. All 6 wires out the back of the GPS will be soldered into this 6-pin connector, and then this 6-pin connector will go on the second row where I put pins in for the second row. First row will be the RC receiver soldered straight to it. This will plug onto pins. So I'll set that over there. That's pre-staged. So I'll have pins on this for the video, camera, GPS. Telemetry hasn't been decided yet. Stay tuned for more on that. There's some changing attitudes on telemetry around here. So, I think that'll give me enough to do for a while. I am not having a great day today. I'm not having a bad day today, but I am a little more under the weather than I have been the last 2 days, so I'm not moving real fast. So I don't know that I will accomplish all this tonight. It may be tomorrow before I finish it up. Who knows? There you go. Now you can see those wire diameters are small enough to solder into the board. I took the bottom plate off just to disassemble the flight controller less. And instead of putting black pins on ground and red pins on voltage and white pins on signal, I'm just going to start doing pins straight across, and I'll keep the correct order. I can't see the colors once they get down inside a model, so maybe doing all that so pretty was just too much. Got my eyes ready to go. I cannot see to solder anymore without some kind of aid. Maybe someday my cataracts will get bad enough to fix, and then they'll say I'll have 20/20 vision for the first time in life, which will be wonderful. But also when they replace your natural lens that muscles can pull and focus, sadly, the replacement plastic or glass lens will not be able to do that in the future in your life. So that's why they, even though I feel like I'm looking through Vaseline, they won't fix them until they get bad enough where they think the fix isn't as bad as your vision. Now, having 20/20 vision, for me, the first time in my life, my wife, when she had hers done, she had terrible vision. Coke bottle glasses. She doesn't even wear glasses now. But there is the problem where you have no manual focus anymore. It's a fixed focus, and that's why they won't do it. I also use this blue tack. It goes down on my solder pad, and then you can stick your components to it. After you stick the pins in, you can push them into that a little bit. It just seems to hold things better than, I've got helping hands. I've used every solder helper, aid, whatever on the face of the planet for years, but this blue tack seems to do some of the best for me. I'll have to do this with a couple of videos, but you see, I just put those pins on there the way I want them. Keep them held real good. hard to do with one hand. And then you push all of that down into the blue tack, and your pin should be right there ready to solder. Hopefully all even, and it'll turn out good on the other side. But again, that's one of the best ways I've ever found to solder, and I didn't find it till recently, but it does work good. Bostik blue tack. Damn, now I'm gonna have to run out and buy stock. Not too bad. At least the kid can still solder good. Well, sorry. That might be because I think I can solder. Some of the things I don't think I can do keeps me from doing them simply because I'm not confident at them, like making a straight line or a straight cut or doing something like that on the model. But as far as soldering, I do pretty good still. Got my 4 pins for video transmitter and smart audio, which I won't be using on this particular model, but might if I change out the video transmitter. I did solder up both camera 1 and camera 2 pins. 3 pins to 2 cameras. And then telemetry up here, which there's going to be news on that soon. This will be for the GPS compass. And I soldered the RC receiver straight to the board. I'd rather solder everything straight to the board and not having to be putting things on these connectors on and off, but we do what we think is best, I guess. Well, there it is. Completely screwed together, closed back up, and ready to go. Don't know anything else it needs. I'm glad to have that out of the way. That's the wing side of the RC receiver cable. Boy, I sure hope I didn't cut that too short. As you saw, I got the flight controller soldered up and wired up the way I wanted to, with pins on video transmitter, 2 cameras, compass and telemetry, GPS and compass, whatever, and the RC receiver on this connector. I did get finished with the GPS module and airspeed. Just a second. Go. I plugged in the 6-pin connector here to what is that? It's 6. I think it's 6. No, 6, 2, and 7. And that now comes over to the GPS module. The I2C goes out of the GPS module and into the airspeed sensor. So that's all done. Sadly, I prepped most of the wings. This one's ready just to, this side is tinned, this side is not. But it's about ready to twist these together. But I'm not going to do that tonight. This one, none of these are tinned. I didn't even strip these. Like I say, this will go here, and this other end will go up here. But I'm actually going to do that tomorrow. It's 11 p.m. and I've had a full day. Okay, I got the flight controller double-sided taped back down to the equipment board. This is for the RC receiver, and yes, it's just barely going to have enough length there for me to get a hold of it to plug it into the connector on the wing. And to tell you the truth, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do about this yet, but this connector for the GPS module is just a little tight. I might have to redo that one. It's just a little short. My center of gravity mark now doesn't intersect the center of that logo. I know that's not going to make a lot of difference after accelerometer calibration, but I still like to have it. I think the way I can get out of this is, this part is really thick, so the cable for the GPS is, actually it's coming out, has to go over and then go down. I may just do me another cable route that's diagonally through this, and I think that'll give me enough slack to be perfect. So that one I cut just a little short, or just didn't leave it long. I haven't glued this down yet, but I did hot glue the airspeed sensor to the side of the front there, and I still have quite enough slack in that wire. A lot of slack in that wire. That'll help me get it up and out of the way. The tray is almost in the position I wanted. Just, it needs to go back just a hair, and I think I'll be able to get that once I modify this cable route out of the back of this GPS. What else? I suppose that's it. I'm going to call it a night. And I thank you all for watching. Have a good one.